Houston Real Estate Radio starts right now.
Welcome back. You're listening to Houston Real Estate Radio. I'm Shannon Register, and I appreciate you listening to us this Sunday. We are talking about a lot of different topics today. Next, I want to move on to some of the crime that's going on in the Houston area. All different parts of Houston are seeing crime, and that's something that just seems to be never ending. We just try to get better control over areas as law enforcement can. I've got the Harris County Attorney Vince Ryan here in the studio with me, and there's so many things to talk about. I don't know how we're going to narrow it down to 10 minutes, but we do appreciate you being here. Vince is an elected official, and we appreciate what you're doing for Houston.
Thank you very much, Shannon. Thank you.
So crime really ties into real estate because a lot of people make their decisions on where they're going to live, not just on commute and how much they like the property, but also on the crime that's going on in the area. How do you feel about that?
I think you're exactly right. As I mentioned to you off the air, my father was a realtor, and I've got a real estate broker's license too. And real estate values are highly dependent upon the amenities in and around and the circumstances of that real estate. And you're right that if an area is a high crime area, that can greatly detract value of residential and commercial real estate.
One of the things that I know there are, what I hear from consumers who are selling a lot of times is if there are high crime areas that they've moved into that they didn't realize they live in, now they're trying to sell. That's a lot of times the school district and the crime are reasons why they're selling, other than just the property itself. But as far as area goes, it's usually crime and school district. Those are pretty big factors. When it is when it's criminal activity going on in the neighborhood, do you think that neighborhoods have enough relying on their local, working with their local police, law enforcement, and working with their deed restrictions?
Well, certainly. Now, again, as I was mentioning to you off the air, is the county attorney in Harris County, we're the civil attorneys for county government. But as that, we represent and work with constables. Harris County's got 8 constables. We also have a sheriff. So Harris County's got those entities, those officials who we work with both as their lawyers and day-to-day routine things, personnel matters, but also we have authority as a civil attorney for county government to enforce injunctions against nuisances. And we've tried to use that power of injunction and suing nuisances, criminal activity, to dampen the effect of crime on neighborhoods especially.
So as far as, we've got these great master planned communities around the Houston area. And one of the things that you and I talked about is, the master planned community is great. Everything's so well established inside the neighborhood, but you don't have control over what's going on outside the neighborhood. And you may have strip malls and businesses, gas stations, other things around the strip mall that could be affecting crime.
No question about that. Is in the city of Houston, of course, is the largest unzoned city in the United States. And so you see it probably a little bit more dramatically in certain parts of the city of Houston, but even out here in unincorporated parts of Harris County or the smaller cities of Harris County, you'll have strip shopping centers, strip malls, and then very nice residential areas. And too often, those strip shopping centers start out very, very nice, and over a period of years, they run down, and they've changed ownerships so that what was maybe a high-end real massage parlor ends up being a house of prostitution.
Right.
And so we've been working with local law enforcement, Ron Hickman in this area especially, to try to stop that kind of criminal activity by suing the owners of the strip mall, the strip shopping center, the commercial property, at the same time the owners and managers of the establishment itself, say a massage parlor.
Do you think that the deed restrictions in neighborhoods help with protecting communities?
I think there's no question. In fact, we do have authority to enforce deed restrictions and have ramped up that effort too in the 4 years plus I've been in office. But yes, I think deed restrictions are often the protection a neighborhood has from having non-conforming uses. I use the example, I used to be on Houston City Council, and I represented Montrose, everything southwest of that, what was then District C. And when I was on City Council, which is almost 20 years ago now, the biggest problem there were abandoned and dangerous buildings in Montrose. And now the biggest problem is unfettered townhouse development, where deed restrictions have been waived because nobody enforced them, and people are building townhouses right up from property lines. Well, while generally that is not that's a good thing, it does affect the real estate values, and it does affect those older homes that don't have the kind of protections they used to have against the deed restrictions, which were their only protections. So yeah, they all work together. The great thing about Houston is we're a dynamic economic engine, but that can then work against homeowners in areas.
Right. Yeah. One of the things that your office has dealt with before are gangs. Tell us about some of the things that y'all have done to implement, to try to keep down the gang activity going on around the Houston area. What are some of the things that y'all do, y'all use?
We have just recently got an injunction against a gang in the southwest area. Almost 3/4 mile area has been made a safety zone where these 16 named gang members cannot even go into that area. If they do, they commit a crime. And because often somebody's a gang member, but unless you catch them in a crime, what can you do with them?
Right.
Well, there are 2 convenience stores that we've been working with. There is a elementary school, Eleanor Tinsley Elementary School. So we've created, with court approval, the court ordered this 3/4 square mile area to be enjoined from these gang members even entering into it. And that's only the second time that we're aware that kind of zone has been created, but we're looking at several other places maybe doing it too. So we're trying to be as creative as possible in helping communities clamp down on crime. Again, us being the civil attorneys, we will work also very closely with the Harris County District Attorney's Office.
So Vince Ryan has served as Harris County Attorney since 2009. The Harris County Attorney is the civil lawyer for Harris County. And some of the things that they address, they protect the children of Harris County. The office works on the environment, neighborhoods. There are a lot of different avenues and ways that you serve through your position.
Well, that's right. We have 100 attorneys more or less in our office, and we represent, in the corporate legal sense, all of county government, and at the same time we do some of these specialized efforts that get a lot more visibility, but the day-to-day work of county government, we're the lawyers for that.
Really no zoning in Houston. A lot of people moving here don't realize that there's no zoning. What kind of impact does that have on Houston, the city of Houston, to not have zoning laws?
I don't know if he still likes to come on radio programs, but Jim Greenwood, a longtime Houston City Council member who was there when I was there, pushed and tried to get the city of Houston to adopt modified zoning back in the early 1990s by ballot, and it was turned down. And again, you can go to other cities in Texas that are highly zoned, Austin, Dallas, Fort Worth, and I was using the example of convenience stores. Here, there truly are convenience stores. You hardly can go a mile in any direction from any location without finding a convenience store.
They're on every corner.
I was in Dallas a couple of years ago at a seminar up in the north part of Dallas. I was looking for a convenience store. I was out for my daily walk. I had to keep on walking because the next one was going to be 1.5 miles away from the 1.5 miles I'd already walked. Well, the residential area is many times, one can be argued, well served by not having commercial activity close by. I think we're probably too far along. I don't know of anybody who's promoting zoning in the city of Houston, and it is harder to overlay zoning in an unzoned environment. But you were telling me some of the issues out here in this part of the county where you have very, very highly developed residential deed-restricted neighborhoods in which there's still a lot of crime.
Mm-hmm.
And part of that is because we have such a mixture of commercial and residential, and quite frankly, we have a pretty good transportation system by car.
Mm-hmm. Well, and to be closer to the major thoroughfares, it's more convenient to get to work, but then you're in more higher crime areas.
That's right.
When you take 20 minutes off the highway to get back to your house, you have less crime activity, but it's a lot longer commute.
Exactly. Yes.
All right. What are some of the, real quickly, we got about 30 seconds left. What are some of the high crime areas that you see in the Houston area that y'all are really working on right now?
Well, we're working with 6 management districts and developed a program whereby we actually have contract attorneys working with those management districts. So we're focusing on those. Again, almost any place in Harris County, Houston, that is developed has issues of crime. But if there are particularly bad areas, I would urge everybody to, if they live in a municipality, work as closely as possible with the municipal police. If they don't, or even if they do work with the municipal police, Harris County has 8 constables. They're all very, very interested in helping communities fight crime. And we have a sheriff who's very, very vigorous, Adrian Garcia, in helping communities fight crime. So work with your neighborhood association if that's what you've got, your homeowners association. Encourage them if they're not creating a relationship with the constable and the sheriff or the municipal police. And working together is the best way of fighting crime.
Absolutely. Neighbors helping neighbors. That's the best way to fight crime.
And virtually every elected official I know considers him or herself to be a neighbor, and they want to really help.
Well, we appreciate you coming on the show.
Thank you.
We've been talking with Vince Ryan, the county attorney, giving us a lot of great information for our Houston listeners, and we do appreciate that. You're listening to Houston Real Estate Radio, and if you have missed any of today's show, you can go to HoustonRealEstateRadio.com and see the videos of the show and find out more information from past shows that we've had as well. If you have a real estate question, you can call us anytime, 281-882-8088, and we'll be happy to answer your questions on the air. We'll be right back.